name is Emma Owen and welcome to The Message Today, which is a weekly bite-sized PSHE session with music videos, spoken words, cheeky chat and life-transforming stories. Over the next few months we will be looking at different topics that affect us all, and hopefully we'll be able to inform, equip and empower you to make some really great choices. This is our second episode of our second series and Daniel and myself will be your hosts. Today we're going to be looking at the topic of mental health.
Hi, my name is Daniel, and as I said last week, faith is important and it's personal. Maybe you have a faith or follow a religion. Everyone you see on this program is a Christian, and we found the Bible to be really helpful when working through difficult situations we may face. So in this session, we want to share some of our experiences with you and see what wisdom the Bible can offer us.
If you have any questions from this session, why don't you write them down and talk in your group with your teachers afterwards. If you're personally struggling with anything that we talk about, please do think of an adult that you trust that you can talk to as soon as possible. This might be a parent or guardian, a youth leader or a member of your staff at school. To open up this session, let me introduce you to a film that was made by Coco, which is part of the Girls Brigade family, and it's called Resilient.
A nurse and a doctor took me into a room and sat me down. And they were like, "Your mum, she's died." And it was like someone had punched me in the stomach.
For me, the pain of depression always sits at the base of my throat, kind of, just under my chin. And often it is quite physical. It's almost like it's burning, and it makes you want to cry or talk about it. But sometimes you don't feel like you can because there's this thing lodged in your throat. And then I guess it's the ache of exhaustion.
My mum was quite ill with an autoimmune disease. When I became her carer, it was just a really hard time. The feelings of anger and frustration and hurt, they just grew and they grew, and it culminated in me beginning to self-harm. And it became another thing that I couldn't talk to anyone about.
I remember feeling kind of like I was struggling for the first time when I was around 14. I wasn't really connected to anything. It was like I was walking around in this big bubble and life was going on around me, but I wasn't a part of it, and I couldn't sense, I couldn't connect with anything. And I felt like I was just never going to be happy again. I didn't really know what mental illness was. I just know that I felt awful all the time. I just felt like I was a failure.
I felt like I was out of sync with the entire world, and everyone else kept going and no one had noticed that I wasn't quite there anymore. It was like all of my bones had turned to lead.
The worst thing is the loss of hope, because depression almost teaches you that this is how it's going to be forever, and that you're never going to feel good again. You're never going to feel like life is okay. You're never going to feel like you're okay again. I wanted the pain to stop, and it got to the point where I took an overdose.
From where I was with self-harm and depression, I was lucky enough to find people that loved me and valued me enough to show me how to do it myself, to show me that I was worth something.
It's really important to tell people how you feel, even if you don't understand how you feel. quite often I found that writing about it was the easiest way I could communicate, because I'd be able to write something and then give it to my mum and be like, this is how I'm feeling.
It's okay to not be okay. You don't have to have had something really horrible happen to you just to feel the way that you do.
We treat ourselves much more harshly when it's our mental health that's struggling than if it's our physical self. Depression and anxiety aren't something that is my fault. They're not a fault in my character. They're an illness, and you have to take care of yourself in them.
I am resilient. That no matter what life throws at me, I'm going to get through it. It's okay to rely on other people if you need to. That you should let people in when you can.
Mental illness doesn't have to be the end of a life. It doesn't have to rule it. Even if mental illness is part of your life for a couple of months or a couple of years, or even if it's always there, life can be lived in it.
So today we're looking at the topic of mental health, and in that video the girls talked about being resilient. You may remember our very first episode in series 1 on resilience and well-being. If you've not seen it yet, check out the playlist or ask your teacher for the link. But let's quickly recap what resilience means before we move on.
Resilience is taking steps to look after your well-being and can help you deal with pressure and reduce the impact that stress has on your life. This is sometimes called developing emotional resilience. Resilience is not just your ability to bounce back, but also your capacity to adapt in the face of challenging circumstances, whilst maintaining a stable mental well-being. Resilience isn't often a personality trait, it's something that we can all take steps to achieve.
Some of you may have enjoyed being off school recently, while others of you may have really struggled. The coronavirus outbreak has kept many of us at home and away from friends more than ever before. Some of you may be coming to terms with family problems, loss or changes to your living situation. Anxious feelings will gradually ease for most of us, but there are always steps you can take to get support emotionally to help cope with problems you face. Remember what we said at the beginning? Find an adult that you trust to help you.
Mental health, making sure that your thoughts are healthy, making sure that, like that's good mental health. Do you know what I mean?
I guess it's like just how you're feeling mentally. Yeah, I don't really know how to put it into words.
There's different types of mental health.
I think it's your mental state, all about your mental state and how you personally feel about everything around you or yourself.
Mental health is just the opposite to physical health, but they like coincide with each other. You can have good mental health, you can have bad mental health, but it's something that's always there.
Mental health, just about your brain, isn't it? Just kind of, yeah, the unhealthy and healthy things that you think about yourself or other people and how you kind of handle your emotions. And yeah, it's actually quite hard to define when you think about it, but yeah, kind of the health of the upstairs.
Thanks guys for your personal thoughts on today's topic. Today our special guests are some great friends of ours here who work with us at the Message Trust. You may have seen them before in your school. They're a band called Amongst Wolves. I'm not going to say anything else as I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you and share some of their thoughts on today's topic.
What's up guys, we are Amongst Wolves. My name is Dan, this is Andy, Clarissa and Mark, and we're a band from Manchester and we love making music to shout about our faith in Jesus. We also make stupid videos, so why don't you hop on over to Amongst Wolves on YouTube later to check out what we've been up to. As you know, we're here today to talk about mental health. which is something we're super passionate about. We want you to know right from the start that if you are struggling today, you are not alone. But let's talk about it. You know, it's important to be clued up on this stuff so that you can keep a healthy brain. So why don't you listen up, and maybe you might find this stuff helps you in your day-to-day.
Now, the definition of mental health, according to the No Health Without Mental Health policy, is that it is a positive state of mind and body, feeling safe and able to cope, with a sense of connection to people, communities, and a wider environment.
As you know by now, we're all Christians, and we read this amazing book called the Bible, which we believe is the Word of God, and it tells the story of all that God is doing here on earth. My favourite part of the Bible is a place called 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9. It talks about this guy called Paul who is really struggling with something, and he describes it as a thorn in his side, like something that he can't seem to run away from. He cries out to God, and God responds by saying, "My grace is enough for you. My power is made perfect in weakness." What he's saying is that God sees our struggles and won't ever leave us alone in them. In fact, Paul doesn't even need to try and act strong because we believe God is far more powerful and will give him the strength that he needs. And I love that. It really resonates with me because I've been living with an anxiety disorder since the age of 15. It can sometimes feel like there's a thorn stuck in my side and feel like I just don't have the strength to keep on fighting my thoughts. But when I feel like that, I read this verse again and remind myself that God is fighting for me. I believe he is far more powerful than me or my anxiety and will give me the strength that I need when I need it. This means that I can always trust him and know that there is hope.
Thanks, Clay. That's some big stuff. I'm going to be showing something a little bit later too, but I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this lesson.
Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood to adolescence through adulthood.
Over the course of your life, if you experience mental health problems, your thinking, mood, and behaviour could be affected. Many factors contribute to mental health problems, including biological factors, such as genes or brain chemistry, life experiences, such as trauma or abuse, family history of mental health problems. Mental health problems are common, but help is available. It's important to know that people with mental health problems can get better and many recover completely.
So how do you know if you have poor mental health? Well, mentalhealth.gov says experiencing one or more of the following feelings or behaviors could be an early warning sign of a problem. Eating or sleeping too much or too little, pulling away from people and usual activities, having low or no energy, feeling helpless or hopeless, feeling unusually confused, forgetful, on edge, angry, upset, worried or scared, yelling or fighting with family and friends, severe mood swings, thinking of harming yourself or others, inability to perform daily tasks like getting to school.
If you can relate to or experiencing any of the issues that Daniel mentioned, why don't you find an adult that you trust and talk to them about it today? You may not actually be struggling with your mental health if you have low energy. It may simply be because you're having a heavy week. Or if you're tired or eating too much, it could be because you're having a growth spurt. Either way, find someone to talk to today.
I don't think so, not really.
So it doesn't have to be something drastic, but I think everybody deals with it.
I haven't personally suffered really with my mental health, but I definitely know a lot of my friends who have throughout the years, people at school with anorexia, eating disorders, things like that. And also my friends had bipolar. So yeah, I definitely think mental health affects a lot of young people nowadays.
During secondary school, I knew a few people that did have mental health problems, like stress and anxiety during the exams, so like during GCSEs. And even now doing A-levels, I know a few people that are finding it quite overwhelming, and they're struggling to keep up like with a good mental health state, if that makes sense.
I have a friend who struggled a lot with anxieties, and it put him in a lot of bad places, but to be the person who sits with him and talks to him about it, it's amazing.
Maybe we could talk about this. More people have thought about this than you thought. More have thought through the thoughts that cause them to question their cause. And maybe we all struggle with the thought that says, end it all. To second guess our cause, to pretend that it's all fine. But let's define fine. I'm fine's hidden meaning is really, I'm lying. You keep a flight mentality when struggle swings by, 'cause most days it feels like you're too wounded to fight. Maybe we could talk about this. Going through the motions, every moment missed. Too busy focusing on coping, hoping seems hopeless, this road feels lonely, and the only antidote, stay busy and focus. We could talk about this. Talk about the pain we face every day, more than you think. And when you're brought to the brink, just remember this. There is a purpose. See, now I'm more in sync with worth than ever before. Perfection is a myth, I have to live with my flaws. But they don't define me, 'cause my life has a cause. So suicide, you can't take me, 'cause my life isn't yours.
If that video affected you, please do talk to a teacher or your youth leader straight after this session. But remember that last line. I have to live with my flaws, but they don't define me, because my life has a cause. So suicide, you can't take me, because my life isn't yours.
The Personal Development Cafe said this: don't let the sadness of your past or the fear of your future ruin your happiness today. Stay positive, because today could be the best day of your life. It's so important that we have hope. We looked at hope in series 1 as well. Do you remember what hope means?
Hope is the desire of something together with the expectation of obtaining it. Hope gets you through those tough times. Do you have something or someone that helps you bring hope into your situation? Maybe a club, hobby, relative or friend. You see, for me, my church and my friendship with God helps me in challenging times.
Over 13.5% of children in England live in families where one parent or carer has a severe mental health problem. Especially during lockdown, everyone's had such a mental strain on themselves, but it's so important that we keep up to date with each other and making sure that we're all okay. When was the last time that you asked a friend how they are really doing?
1 in 10 school children have a diagnosable mental health condition. Of the young people that were accessing mental health support in the 3 months leading up to lockdown, nearly 1/3 were no longer able to access that support but still needed it, while 40% were struggling with their mental health but hadn't looked for support because of not wanting to burden services, not having privacy at home, or feeling shame. If you're struggling today, there are some great websites out there like Young Minds and The Mix, so why not check those out?
I don't know about you, but I've really struggled to sleep during lockdown. My sleeping pattern has been everywhere. I've gone to bed late, woken up late, sleeping throughout the day, sleep cycle totally out the window. And it's actually been reported recently that 1/3 of young people have struggled to sleep during COVID-19. This could have effects on work, school life, behavioural issues and family life. Have you struggled maybe during the last 6 months? Hopefully going back to school and getting back into that routine will really help you guys to get back on it. But if not, make sure that you talk to an adult that you can trust.
Kooth, one of the biggest providers of NHS online mental health support, has seen a 26.6% increase in black and minority ethnicity children contacting them with suicidal thoughts, compared to 18.1% for white children during lockdown. If you're struggling with feeling like this, please make sure you're speaking to a trusted adult and getting the help you need.
Okay, I don't know about you, but I've found the rules around COVID so confusing. Go to work, don't go to work, go to work. I can't get my head around what's right or what's wrong to do anymore. And recently at the University of Sheffield, they found that young people who were more anxious about things were more likely to obey the rules, whereas those with high levels of depression were more likely to disobey the rules. maybe if a friend is really strict on some of the rules or maybe far too easy on them, drop them a message, check how they're doing and see if they're alright.
If you are personally struggling, Lily Jo from the Lily Jo Project recommends 3 anxiety-reducing tips, and she uses the word RED to help us to remember them. R is for relaxation. Relaxation is a wonderful way to combat stress of all kinds.
E is for exercise. Exercise is a massive key to improving your emotional well-being. Why not set yourself a goal now? Make it specific, achievable, and manageable.
And finally, D. D is for distraction. Distraction is a really important tool in the management of anxiety levels. Distracting yourself with activities that take your mind off the anxiety, stress, and panic is the key.
Lady Gaga said, individual acts of bravery and compassion could change the world. It's time to do the same for mental health. I love this quote. A number of years ago, I really struggled with my mental health and I actually tried to commit suicide. My relationship with God really helped me through this time. I had to learn to be brave, I had to learn to have compassion, and I had to learn to love myself. And I believe that with help, you could do that too.
It's been so good to have Amongst Wolves on as guests this week, and working towards having a good mental health is close to their hearts, as some of the band members have actually had to learn how to live with anxiety and depression themselves. We've not heard from him yet, but here's Mark Wakefield.
Let's do this, come on. So it was a few years back, I was dating this girl. I'm not going to say her name, I'm going to keep it a secret. Not because she's famous or anything, just it's polite, innit? Anyway, so we were going out, things were going like really, really well. And I was like, you know what, I think she could be the one. You know, in movies it's all romanticized. I was like, she could be the one, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to marry this girl. Like, you know, it wasn't going to be soon, but I was like, I knew it would happen at some point. And then one time, I actually remember it was a bank holiday Monday after Easter, and I was going up to see her on the train on the Tuesday, and I got a phone call the night before, and I was like, oh, that's cute, saying night and whatever, that's cool. And she told me over the phone that actually we needed to break up, and I was like crushed. I was proper crushed. And then she said that weird little thing that sometimes people say, like, I just don't have time for a relationship. And I was like, I don't buy it, I don't buy it. So like a week later, I called her back again, and I kind of asked, I was like, what's the real story? Like, come on, you've got to give me that, right? You've got to be kind enough to tell me what's actually going on. And she told me that she'd been sleeping with somebody else for like 3 months. And I was like, ugh, like fully crushed. I thought I was bad before, but I was really bad afterwards, right? I just got so upset at the thought that she would do that to me when I was in this place of like, yeah, we're going to get married, it's going to be great. And she was in a completely different place. And actually the impact this had on me and my mental health was absolutely enormous. I started to sort of second guess everybody's motives, like even friends, like what are they thinking behind my back? What are they doing behind my back? Like who's hanging out with who, and am I out of the circle? Like it proper messed with my head. And actually moving forward, my mental health took a real hit because I started just to feel so anxious and worried about so many things about relationships, but it started to sort of leak out into other areas of my life too. And actually it got to the point where you know, I got into another relationship with a girl, and I was just so racked with jealousy constantly that it actually made it really stressful, and we ended up breaking up. And again, that was really hard to take because I knew that was on me too. However, I'm a Christian, and I read the Bible, and I get to be in a relationship with God. I get to share things of my life with this like God that created everything, right? And in the Bible, God tells a different story. One of my favorite verses that has been ever present in my life since I was baptized when I was really young is Isaiah 41 verse 10. And it says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and uphold you with my righteous hand." When you hear that, when your world is falling apart, it changes things. When you're experiencing that insane break of trust, when you're experiencing relationships fall apart, when you're experiencing anxiety, depression, or whatever it is that you're struggling with right now, it can change things. Because this isn't just like even a friend's promise. This is God. the creator of all things, the creator of all people, who looks at you and says, you don't need to be afraid because I've got you, man. In life, we go through difficult things. It just kind of happens, but you don't have to go through that stuff alone. I had the immense privilege of being able to walk through my troubles with God. But also, God showed me that I had friends who were going to be amazing supports for me, and my brother was like my rock through all of this. And actually, the same is true for you as well. There are people around who love you and want to support you. It might be friends, might be family, might be even your teachers. But just opening up is so important. Getting that stuff out of the dark and into the light is often the first step to getting the help you need, to letting someone into your life. And I'm really happy to say I'm in a much better place. I'm able to deal with my anxiety and my mental health in a much better way by opening up to friends and opening up to God. And I really hope that my story can remind you that there is hope. My name is Mark Wakefield, and this is my story.
As I said in the beginning, if you have any questions from this session, why not talk about it in your groups afterwards? Also, if your teacher or leader would like the extended session, you can now access the questions that accompany this episode by simply clicking on the link in the description.
If you are personally struggling with any of the content, please do think of an adult you can trust and talk to them ASAP. Don't wait. There are many great websites and charities that we can signpost you to and can inform and support you moving forward. So why don't you check out some of these? And maybe start off with the NHS, Young Minds, Childline, and The Mix.
One website that we always direct you to is the Lily Joe Project. Their website's opening statement says this: in this high-pressured society, it is estimated that 1 in 3 of us may have times of depression, anxiety, stress, or other issues. So if you're struggling, please remember that others feel like you too. Mental health no longer has that negative stigma that it did in the past. People now understand much more about it, and lots of help is available. So the first step is to recognise that there might be a problem, and the next step is knowing that there is help. So why don't you get help today?
Hey, and welcome to the Lily Joe Project, an online mental health resource designed to help you help yourself. We've got information on depression, anxiety, self-harm, eating disorders, and much more. We hope this is a practical resource that helps you get back on your feet and helps you to help yourself.
Make sure you check out all of the band's socials and join us every Friday at 5 p.m. for a live event as well as special giveaways. See you then.
Sadly, we've come to the end of today's episode. I'm sure you'll agree with me that it's been great having Amongst Wolves on this week's episode. And it makes sense to leave you with one of their songs. Horizon was written about Psalm 139, and I love the words in verse 3. You hear my anxious heart, and yet you loved me from the start. Before we listen to it, here's Dan with some closing words.
And I'm here today to tell you what it's all about. Whether you feel amazing today or whether this is the lowest day you've had in a while, you can remember these words from Horizon. I am not alone. Wherever you find yourself, whatever's going on in your life right now, remember, I am not alone. You are not alone. So if you're feeling down, stick this song on. Remember that you are wonderfully made.
You say you know my frame and you have numbered all my days, and you know where I go. I don't need to be afraid because you know me by my name, and I know I'm not alone. Where could I flee to? parts of me I've lost, you tell me that you're with me. I will not flee now, I will not hide. There's nowhere I could go to escape from your design. Your arms surround me, you are my guide. Even the darkness has to hide. Even if I run to the horizon, even if I keep myself in hiding, even down the road that keeps unwinding, I know you're there, I know you're there. Where could I escape to? You're everywhere, you're everywhere. So even if I sink into the ocean, I know you're there, I know you're there. I'm not alone, 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 I'm not alone.